Don Mazzella here again for Small Business Digest. And after many delays been caused by the fact that once again I screwed up. But anyway, we have with us a very interesting guest. His name is Rob Ratzloff, and we're going to talk to him about how he's helping small business, he and his organization. So, Rob, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me on, Don.
Well, I'm looking forward to learning more, well, especially when your people contact me. But Rob, at first, as we always ask, tell us a little bit about yourself, then about your organization, and finally a website.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Rob Retzlaff, and I am the Executive Director at the Connected Commerce Council. And we are a nonprofit organization for digitally empowered small businesses that use tools and technology in various ways to start, run, and grow their businesses. As an advocacy-based organization, we work with businesses from all across the country in various ways to help provide skills training and resources in order to help their businesses optimize growth and efficiency. At 3C, as some of us like to call ourselves, it's our mission to help advance the interests, education, and engagement of small businesses powered by digital technology, while working with leaders every day at the state, federal, and even local levels to cultivate a policy environment that considers and respects the interests of today's small businesses. Our website is connectedcouncil.org, and that's CONNECTEDCOUNCIL.org.
Well, that's a starting point. But let's back up a little bit. If you don't have technology today, your business is going to die. It's as simple as that. I don't care whether it's a shoemaker or whatever. But I was surprised at the number. There's still over a third of all companies do not have a website, according to the last figures, and that number seems to stay the same. But I guess my first question is, well, what do you do specifically? I'm a small business. Do I come to you? Give us some examples of what you do.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a great question. We've come out with a number of different research studies, throughout the course of my time here at 3C. And specifically, you referenced that a third of small businesses don't have a website. Well, we did a research study at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic in early 2020, just to get an idea of how small businesses were faring at that particular time. What we found was 99% of small businesses from across the country use at least one digital tool. And that digital tool could be something like a website. It could be something as simple as email, or it could be something as simple as having a Facebook business page. What's surprising is there is still that 1% that still do not have any sort of digital tool or technology implemented into their business operations, and yet they're still able to stay in business. And traveling from city to city, town to town, all across the country, and even in major cities, you'll run into businesses that still don't have a website, but they still have their number and address located in a phone book, or simple pages like Yelp that still have all that information needed in order to find customers. At 3C, in addition to the advocacy and research that we do, we provide educational workshops and resources on all the great digital tools and services out there, as well as offering advocacy opportunities, connecting small business leaders with their state and federal policymakers. As you know, digital tools and internet resources, online marketplaces, are empowering small businesses to grow and thrive, hire more employees, and ultimately be more profitable. Like I said, these tools include something as simple as just a basic website. They also include a little bit more advanced technology too, such as utilizing the cloud, like Google Workspace, Facebook and Instagram, Google Ads, CRMs, which are customer relationship management platforms like Salesforce and Contact, and even operation tools like QuickBooks and HubSpot with online marketplaces like Amazon, Shopify, eBay. These are making up an entire, small stack of technology options that small businesses like and can use, and they're affordable and accessible today, now more than ever.
And that's all well and good, but I'm a small business. come to you and I say, I don't have a website. How do you help them develop a website?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily us developing that website. We provide the resources and the programs out there to help connect that individual business owner, learn more about either developing their own website or working with a consultant to help develop that website for them. There are a number of free and affordable tools out there. On our website specifically, we have a resource hub called 3C University that contains courses on various educational programs, advocacy opportunities, and the importance of using digital tools as a business owner, as well as resources going to third-party websites too, like the Grow with Google website, Facebook marketing website, including GoDaddy and HubSpot as well, to help businesses find those resources in order to learn more about how to build a website, how to revamp your website, even adding an online marketplace or a online web store into your business operations too. So we act as that resource, even though we connect with millions of small businesses, it seems like each and every year through our research, our advocacy programs and resources. We ultimately want to make sure that small businesses have that one-stop shop, and that's kind of where we come in.
Mm. Well, you say advocacy. What types of advocacy do you do that benefits small business?
Yeah, so in particular, our advocacy that we focus on is specific to technology and tech policy. When it comes to certain issues around tech right now, there are a number of items of legislation out there, both at the state and federal level, that small businesses ultimately need to know about. I think when it comes to the tech policies moving through Congress right now, one of the things that is top of mind to a number of small businesses is the need for a national privacy bill in order to avoid a number of patchwork state regulations. I think right now, privacy is a priority for small businesses. They ultimately want to protect their consumers and customers' information and data, and they want to make sure that they comply with whatever that state or federal policy is right now. As of right now, there are 4 states, I believe, that have enacted some sort of consumer data privacy law, with a number of other states that have introduced their own privacy legislation. But I think, in order for a small business to have to comply with potentially 50 different state privacy laws, Congress has been working on trying to pass a bipartisan national data privacy law that all businesses, both large and small, can easily comply with. There are a number of other issues that we have focused on too when it comes to tax and trade issues, competition issues. We can get to this a little bit later, but one of the items of legislation that we're following pretty closely right now is specific to antitrust law and how that can correlates to a small business. Most small businesses don't really care much about antitrust law, but for us, the way that we're looking at this right now is the antitrust laws that are moving through Congress are targeting large online platforms that are providing a number of resources and benefits to small businesses that are affordable and accessible to them. And if anything were to happen to that, it would really impact their business in a negative way.
You confused me a little bit. What do you mean by that? I didn't hear. What law are you talking about? Because it didn't come clear.
In terms of the antitrust legislation?
Yes.
Yeah, so I
Why,
think
why would a small business be worried about antitrust?
Yeah, so I myself am no antitrust expert, but when I talk to small businesses each and every week to provide a little bit more context and understanding, antitrust essentially is the area of law that focuses on protecting consumers and the benefits they reap from a competitive marketplace. At its core, antitrust essentially should protect and promote competition to ensure consumers get the lowest price possible and the best products and services available. What we're seeing right now in Congress is Congress trying to revamp antitrust law. And in terms of what's currently in place right now, antitrust law has been in place for nearly 100 years, over 100
Yes.
years. And it's been through world wars, economic recessions, depressions, and it's been working for a number of years. But many of members of Congress think that the antitrust laws need to be revamped, if you will. And so there have been a number of bills introduced over the last year or two to try and revise the antitrust laws going into Congress right now to essentially try and help inspire and innovate competition. I think with the particular antitrust bills that we're paying attention to right now, there are bills moving in both chambers of Congress. A year ago, last summer, the House Judiciary Committee passed a package of antitrust bills coming out of committee to go to the floor vote. But since over 12 months now, over a year, that floor vote has stalled for a number of reasons, because ultimately they're waiting for the Senate to take action on their bill. So that Senate bill that we're paying close attention to right now is called the American Innovation and Choice Online Act. And that specific bill focuses on self-preferencing.
Okay. The Spaniards have an expression, if death came from Madrid, we'd all live a long time. Now it should be, if law came from Congress, we'll all go a long time. Doesn't seem as if Congress can pull much out of itself. But anyway, that's a personal opinion. But let's go back to small business. I'm here. I say, yeah. You refer things to. You refer me to various people, etc. But then, where do you get your funding from, and how do you get your mission?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think, in terms of our funding, we are very transparent about who our funders are. Our funders are partners that help support our digital resources and programming. And, ultimately, we are supported through large technology companies such as Amazon and Google. These partners help support our programs and research, as well as benefits through these training programs and global mentoring networks to help business leaders connect with various professionals, other businesses within the network. And with their support, we're able to launch new online learning platforms, such as our 3C University, an online learning management platform that includes an assessment tool where small businesses can enroll in courses and access resources to help improve their skills around digital tools, as well as learn how to become a small business advocate, which is ultimately why we exist today. Small business leaders can't afford their own lobbyists or government affairs professionals. So we ultimately come in to help be that advocate for small businesses, both at the state and federal level, to ensure that they have a seat at the table.
But there's an old Italian expression: "Little men have to stand till the big men find their seats." But in most politics today, and most law, it's the big guys that get most of the attention. How do you get your attention?
I mean, that's a great question. As an organization, we've been around since 2019, and we believe that the future of government policies and actions must reflect how today's small businesses operate in the modern economy. In order to get people's attention, we primarily want to make sure that leaders, elected officials at the federal and state levels are listening to small businesses and making sure that these small businesses have a seat at the table, like I just said, in terms of what their priorities are, that they want their elected officials to focus on. I think when it comes to trying to get attention of these policymakers, research is a great way to put facts in front of an elected official. These various research reports that we've come out with over the years are supplemented with anecdotals from small businesses to share their story, to give policymakers a better understanding of exactly how they use digital tools and online platforms to help their businesses run and grow. Small businesses, as you can imagine, you talk to so many week after week, they're very, very busy people, and time and money are limited resources for them. Congress at the same time are, very busy individuals as well too. And so we ultimately want to make sure that a small business has their voice heard when it comes to important legislation that it could impact their bottom line.
Well, during the pandemic, many states, in effect, discriminated against small business by closing small businesses and leaving the big box stores open. In New Jersey, I just saw a study with 58% of small businesses in New Jersey were closed, and at least 1 month in during the pandemic, at least 1 month. Under state law, yet the big boxes like Kohl's, etc., remained open. How do you help address that inequity where the big guys seem to get the better part of the pie?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I think there's no perfect answer or solution to that. Unfortunately, I think what we in small businesses from all over the world experienced was very unique at that particular moment in time. And at the height of the pandemic during the lockdowns, so many small businesses were hurting. And a number of these small businesses did not have sound digital infrastructure in place, unfortunately. And what we saw from the very early phases of the pandemic was small businesses having to pivot to be more online, to be more present with their customers and consumers through various online platforms and channels. Not every single small business, unfortunately, was able to make that pivot. And still, to this day, even 2+ years after the fact, small businesses are still suffering from the long-term effects of these lockdowns, the pandemic. Inflation right now is a long-term consequence that a lot of small businesses are feeling. And there's a huge fear and uncertainty of how long this is going to go on for. Supply chain shortages have been ongoing for months and months and months now. And at the end of the day, small businesses are still trying to adapt and figure out how they can get their product shipped on time to the consumers with, the supply chain shortages still ongoing. Same thing with labor. Labor, shortages still remain. So many small businesses that I talk to week after week are still struggling to find employees to hire. Time and time again, there's just so much need and demand for small businesses to try and help, each other get through the next couple of months. And, throughout the last 2+ years, through our research and through doing interviews like this and roundtables virtually and in person, it's been eye-opening to hear different stories from different small business leaders throughout the course of the 2+ years of the pandemic. Hopefully, the light is at the end of the tunnel and things will eventually get better. But at the right now, current time, so many small businesses are still struggling, no matter how well or how often they are using digital tools and platforms. It's still, a lot of macroeconomic issues that are creating a lot of uncertainty at this time.
Well, I agree with you. I happen to be privy to some data that in 2 states in the Northeast, 1/5 of all small businesses closed in the last 2 years in 2 states. I can't tell you the 2 states yet because the study has not been, but based on official records, that to me is a scary number. One one out of every 5 small business has closed in the last 2 years. That's a scary number.
That is a scary number. And, like one of the first research reports that we came out at the very beginning of the pandemic, this was April 2020, we released a report called Digitally Empowered. And within that study, we found that 1 in 3 small businesses said they would have been out of business if it weren't for digital tools. And so 1/3 of small businesses, which equates to millions of small businesses from across the country, would have been closed if it weren't for digital tools. Imagine if they didn't have access or these digital tools weren't as affordable as they are today. How many more small businesses would have been shuttered if it weren't for online platforms and online marketplaces provided by these large internet companies to small businesses? There are so many small businesses today that like I said, are still struggling to adapt. And through this research too, we've done a number of different reports and we've seen a trend where small businesses that have fully adopted digital tools and technology want to continue to learn more about digital tools and what's out there and how they can improve upon their current tech stack. Whereas a small business who still is struggling to learn a little bit more about what's out there in terms of online ads or platforms or marketplaces are still suffering. And there's this gap that kind of looks like this K-shaped recovery going on right now. And so one of the things that we want to make sure policymakers know is that what can they do to bridge that gap, to prevent other small businesses from shuttering their doors? What can they do to provide support when it comes to programs and services. The SBA, as many people know, offered a lot of financial relief to small businesses through their PPP programs and EIDL loans. But what a lot of people don't know is that the SBA has a number of programs and resources out there, such as SCORE and SBDC, that are free to small businesses. And these are programs that are available in every single state, in every major metropolitan area, that I strongly encourage small businesses to check out to see what's out there and explore. I think when it comes to a small business today in the modern day economy, there are endless opportunities out there in terms of how you reach a customer and sell your product. So I strongly encourage a small business, if they're looking for other resources or want to find a free mentor, to check out sba.gov and see what programs are available in their area.
Your website again for our people? I've neglected it, please. For our audience?
Yep. So our website is connectedcounsel.org.
Okay. Can you spell it out for our radio audience?
Yep. So connectedcounsel.org, CONNECD, COUNCIL.org.
Before we let you go, what are the 2 or 3 most requested questions people ask you, your group?
That's a fantastic question. And I think it depends on what current events are going on at the current time right now. I think the number one question that I'm being asked quite a bit right now is, what's going on with these antitrust bills? Where are they headed? What's the timeline look like? How strong of a chance are they to going to the floor, and how likely will the vote come down to? Will it pass? Will it fail? And right now, we're still, trying to get as many small businesses in front of their members of Congress to urge them to learn a little bit more about the negative impacts of the proposed legislation. In terms of timing and next steps, there are a couple of days left this week and next week before Congress takes off for their August recess. August recess right now is important for a number of members of Congress because of midterm elections coming up in the fall. So there are so many competitive races out there that August recess for these members are important ways for them to connect with their districts, their states, their constituents, in order to make sure that they stay within their office. I think for the time being, when it comes to this antitrust legislation, these bills could hit the floor any day now. But what we're also seeing is that Congress has a number of other issues to deal with first that are a higher priority. I think right now, currently, there is the CHIPS bill, CHIPS Plus, that just recently went to the floor. And it looks like we're going to be seeing a vote any day now. There's that, there's inflation. There are a number of other issues that are taking precedent right now. So we're going to stay on it. We're going to keep, urging policymakers to look into this and urging small businesses to learn a little bit more about this and encouraging them to become an advocate. Second question that I get is, how can a small business become an advocate? In terms of the opportunities that exist, there are a number of different ways that a business leader can become that advocate. It can be as simple as sending a letter or an email to their member of Congress, sharing their story and any sort of concerns that they have around a particular legislative item. Or it could be something a little bit more of an engaged activity, such as doing a meeting with their member of Congress or elected official, where they have the opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with that elected official to share their story of their business, talk a little bit about the digital tools and online platforms that they use, and share any concerns that they would have if anything were to happen to those online tools and platforms.
Okay, Rob, you're going to get one last chance. Your website, one more time.
Yep, our website is connectedcounsel.org, and that's CONNECTEDCOUNCIL.org.
Okay. On that note, we say, Rob, thanks for me, an illuminating time. I really learned a lot, and I hope our audience did as well. Thanks for joining us.